All right, welcome back. So this video is going to be a little bit longer than the others, but in this video, I'm literally tactically going to show you specifically what to do to get money right now. So the first, foremost, most obvious thing is if you had promotions that worked before and you can run them again to your list, then run them again to your list. Like, it really is that simple. I can't tell you how many times we've done that for clients and just seen huge gains because they're so distracted by doing other stuff that they never think to just run the dang thing again and then turn it evergreen. All right. So that's the obvious. Now, what might not be so obvious are unique situations. Like, well, what if you had something that worked before, but it was time sensitive, or you want to run it a certain way? Or what if you have an offer that you've always been running and you don't have anything really that's particularly performed better than or worse than anything else you're doing? You've only ever done this one thing or something like that. So that's where I want to get really granular with you in this video. So one thing we'll do for clients, and that we also do here, is let's say we'll take a sales process that has worked, and let's say it's a webinar, and we ran the webinar and the webinar worked really, really well. Well, what we'll do is, instead of running the webinar again and making everybody on the list like go register for the webinar, we will essentially use diagnostics, which we'll go into a lot in much greater detail during the certification. And we'll use diagnostics and determine that in almost every single circumstance, the webinar itself really isn't the thing that actually gets the sales. The webinar itself is the thing that gets someone to behaviorally indicate that they're interested in buying, and that the real money is in actually what happens when you follow up with the people who watch the webinar. So we will then create a new campaign using email frameworks I'm about to share with you. So whether or not we're talking about a webinar or sending people to a sales letter or sending people to a video sales letter or sending people to an article or whatever, essentially what I want to do for you in this video is show you the main email campaign structures that we always use to create campaigns from scratch for people, oftentimes using existing assets. Like, okay, you have a sales letter that worked. Let's build an email campaign and an automated sequence to drive people to that sales page, for example. So in this particular video, I'm going to show you the big ones, which are the click sequence and the countdown sequence, and I'm going to show you how to use those in conjunction with one another. All right, so I'm going to give you the frameworks and the process maps of how to do this, and of course I'm also going to give you the frameworks and process maps for what to say and how to automate all of this stuff. So without further ado, let's get to work. This is one that if you have anything for sale right now and you have any kind of database, you can use that I'm showing you in this video to go out and get sales from your database, like right now. All right, so let's get you some money. Let's go. Guess what? 3 types of them, period. And on the planet, there's 3 types. Now, we could like try to pretend and church it up and be like, well, there's the story sequence and there's the yada. That's bullshit. There's 3 types of email sequences in the world. Number 1, there's transactional, receipts and stuff, right? It could also be, if you wanted to say like an update, really, hey, just filling you in, you know, Barbara got a new cat the other day, yada, yada. But generally speaking, there's transactional, receipts and stuff like that. That doesn't apply to us. We ain't gonna mess with that. Then you got a quick sequence, right? So in like this process right here, okay, the go back, the go finish, that's just a click sequence. That's all that is. All right. And then we've got, I'm sorry to be switching up on you, but I just kind of want to make it more real than canned feeling for you, you know? Whoops. Don't want to jump the gun. There we go. You got transactional, quick sequence, and then you got a deadline sequence. And sometimes you'll hear me talk about a countdown sequence. It's the same thing. I like to use various words to describe the exact same thing. So that's it. So in terms of our universe, we really only have 2. Click sequences and deadline sequences. So let's talk about the click sequence. Usually a click sequence, the framework for it, is 2 emails a day for 3 days. That's it. Whole purpose of a click sequence is to get the reader to go do something. You know, that's it. Like, go click on this thing. So, hey, I made this video for you. Go watch it. Happens to be a sales video, but you'll find that out when you go see it. Or, hey, go register for this webinar. Or, hey, I got this new book. Go look at it and buy it. Like, that's all we're doing, is telling them to go do something. That's a click sequence. And usually you send a couple emails a day for 3 days. And that's it. And there's no hard and fast rule here. Do it 3 emails a day for 3 days if you want to. Doesn't matter. In most cases, by the way, and so in like all of these sales processes you're going to see, and dang near every single one of them, if they click, but they don't do what you want them to do, so if they go to the sales letter and they don't buy, for example, then they're put into the other type of sequence, which is a deadline sequence. All right? So really, now if you start thinking about it, all of these sales processes, in most cases, every sales process you're going to see is made up of quick sequences that drive someone to one of the 4 possible types of web pages, and ultimately they're going to go into a deadline sequence. And all we're doing is just rearranging how that's laid out in the steps of the sales process. That's it. Let's talk about what to say in a quick sequence. And by the way, this isn't your official framework for this stuff. I'm just doing this because if I were someone who hadn't been doing this so long and I'd just gone through the training that you went through last week in that last video, I might be starting to get like, oh man, is this going to be all complicated? And so that's why I'm making this for you, just to let you know it really isn't. So quick sequence basic messaging, what does it say? Okay, every email in a click sequence essentially says this, okay? Hey, this thing exists, right? So for example, hey, I just made a new video for you and it's all about how to do this, right? Or hey, there's a new book I just wrote and now you can get it. There you go, right? Or hey, I'm doing a training on this day and you can register for it. There you go, right? Or hey, there's an article, I just wrote it for you and here you go. Like, so that's part 1. Part 2 is, here's why you should look at it, right? And so this is like, you're kind of selling them on clicking, okay? In the class, you're going to learn this, this, and this. Or during this article, you're going to see the research that shows X, Y, and Z. Or here's why you should go get this book I just told you about. You're going to get 1, 2, and 3, right? And then finally, here's what to do now, right? That's why you want to click here right now and go. The end. Enjoy, right? And that's so, like, a quick sequence is literally 2 emails that basically say this every day for 3 days as a general rule, right? That's all it is. And so the only difference between like a one click sequence and the other is telling them what the thing is and telling them what the benefits are, right? And so even in the case of our last process where we are here, okay, let's see, we're here, a go back sequence. So like we got a click sequence here, if they're already on our list and we want them to go watch, that's just a quick sequence. Hey, there's a new class, I've got it for you, it's on demand, you can go watch it right here. Here's what you're going to learn. Go watch it right now. Click here. It'll play automatically so they don't have to register, right? Well, what about the go back sequence? It's following the same framework. Hey, and all we're doing is just putting hey, I noticed that you started to watch the class, but you left, and then boom, the class is really good. Here are the benefits. Here's what you should do next, right? Same with this. Hey, I noticed that you got a little bit through the class, but you didn't stay for the best part. Here's what you're going to learn. Here's why you should go back. Here's what to do, right? So it's every single time it's kind of the same thing, All right, so now that leads us to, okay, let's see. Okay. Unless I sound like Mr. Mackey just then. All right, so now we got a deadline sequence, all right? So standard issue deadline sequence is 2 days if you're doing a stack, all right? And so a stack means you got multiple deadline sequences in a row. Like each deadline sequence is 2 days. Deadline 1 is like, here you go. And deadline 2 is, I added a bonus. And deadline 3 is, some bitch added a third or a second bonus and you get a payment plan. Those are usually going to be 2 days long. Otherwise, 4 days. So if it's just one deadline sequence, it's 4 days. And incidentally, I just kind of made up 4 days and I've always used it and it always worked. I have no idea if 5 days is better or 3 days. It kind of created 4-day cash machine campaign. Actually, I didn't create that. My cousin Trey Smith created that. And I just popularized it. And heck, neither of us ever bothered longer or shorter than 4 days. So kind of that's it, standard issue there. And here's the deal. On the last day of a deadline sequence, it's got 6 emails. On every other day, it's got 2 emails. That's it. So it doesn't matter if it's a stack where you're doing them and it's just 2 days. That means on day 1, 2 emails. On the last day, 6 emails. If you're doing a 4-day deadline sequence like classic 4-day cash machine,
2 emails a day on days 1 through 3, 6 emails on the last day. So what's the messaging for it? Super simple, right? There we go. So for every day except the very last day, when you're just sending 2 emails a day, doesn't matter which, it doesn't matter if it's day 1, 2, 3, whatever. If it's not the last day, here's how the messaging basically goes. Hey, this cool thing is going to go away. And here's how cool it is. And I got some bonuses too, if you in fact have bonuses, right? And so here's where to go to get it, P.S. This is going away, and here's all the benefits. And by the way, don't forget there's a bonus, and here's what to do. That's the call to action. All right, so literally every email basically says that. Okay, and so that's it. And I've got, of course, a more detailed framework for you. I'm just kind of, and maybe I'm making all this stuff up in my mind. I just want you to realize that all of these sales processes, they're just a combination of these things at the end of the day, Let's talk about now the last day. On the last day, you're sending 6 emails if you want it to really, really work. So it kind of goes like this. Hey, it's the last day. This sucker's going away. Click here to go get it. Here's all the cool stuff that you're going to get with it. And then here's the benefits of it too. Cool stuff being the bonuses. And here's the benefits of all of that stuff. Click here right now. And by the way, it's going to expire. So click here right now and get it. See you later. P.S. Don't forget about the bonuses. And here's all the benefits. And it's going away. And click here now. And so every email on the last day basically says that. And usually, and you'll see it in the framework, the main differences are the intensity in your opening paragraph of scarcity. So like the first email will be like, hey, this expires tonight at midnight. It's really good. I think you're going to enjoy it. Click here to get it. By the way, don't forget I've added these bonuses, and here's everything you're going to get. So you should get it here before it goes away. It's going away, like I said, at midnight tonight. And click here to claim the bonuses right now. Talk to you later, Frank. P.S. It's really unusual to offer these many bonuses. Here's all the benefits of them. But again, it's going away at midnight tonight. So click here and get yours. So that might be email number 1. By the time it's email number 6, which is usually 30 minutes before the thing expires, it's, the subject line is final notice. And then this is going away in 30 minutes. Click here to get it. You do not want to miss this. Click here to get this now. If you miss this, you're going to miss all of these bonuses and benefits. So go here right now because this is going away. Click here immediately. So it's still the same framework. This is different tonality, different degrees of urgency.
All right, so as you can see, this isn't rocket surgery, as they say, right? But still, it'll be helpful if you had like some actual swipe files and some things to go on when you wanted to create some of these. So what I want to do for you now is actually walk you through specific messaging and some tutorials on how to create these sequences. And remember, some way better than none. Imperfect and high volume, way better than perfect in like 2 or 3 emails. You really can't send too many. Nobody's really reading the emails anyway. Think about your own email behavior. All right, so don't obsess over this. All we're really trying to do is 2 things. With a click sequence, we're trying to get someone to behaviorally indicate they're interested in the thing you're selling by clicking on the link that's related to the thing you're selling. In the deadline sequence, we're just trying to get the offer in front of them as much as humanly possible and get them to take action because it's going to go away. It's literally that simple, all right? So what I want to do for you now is actually walk you through some swipe file frameworks for literally creating these emails step by step. Let's go.
Okay, so purpose of a click sequence is to get an email subscriber to go click a link. That's it. That's literally all we're trying to do. It could be a link to go read an article. It could be a link to go register for a webinar. It could be a link to go watch an on-demand class without having to register. It could be a link to go check out a sales letter. Here's the thing, okay? This is super important. It sells the click more than it sells the thing. Right? And, by the way, in most cases, it's followed by a deadline sequence. In most cases, right? And so let me diagram the process map out for you of the actual click sequence itself. So anytime you got a box like this one, in like one of your big process maps like this, it's a click sequence. What I'm about to show you is basically what's inside this box. Okay, and it's always the same. So that's pretty handy. All right, it's probably going to make me do all this stuff again. Okay, uno, dos, tres, next. There we go. So our mission is a click, right? Everything we're doing, we're just trying to get someone to click from the email. So generally speaking, and you can play around with this as you want to, but generally speaking, I build my click sequences like this. On day number 1, 2 emails. I send them at 8:30 and at 11:30. And if the CRM has the option to send them at the subscriber's time zone, I check that option. So a lot of them do. Like Infusionsoft, for example, it's got that. It's like send it at 8:30 a.m. in their time zone. And they can figure out the subscriber's time zone by like IP address and crazy stuff like that. So pretty cool, right? Now, you might be wondering, why in the morning, Frankie? Well, because the all-knowing they, okay, it's important, the all-knowing they say that most emails are opened in the morning between 9 and noon. I just saw something by Perry Belcher about that, and he knows a thing or two about email, by the way. He ain't no dummy, despite his looks. And I only say that because he's my friend, so I can talk trash about him. He would do the same about me, I guarantee. So, day number 1, 2 emails. And I'll walk you through the content of the emails. Now, look, here's the deal. At any point, if they like get this email and they click, they ain't getting the rest of the emails. All right? So that's relatively standard. It's not relatively standard. It's like totally standard. Okay? So your client needs to know that. Hey, if they click, they're not going to get any of the rest of the emails. Your client already has somebody that can do all this stuff. It's not your job to build this stuff for them unless you just want to. Personally, I never do. And they don't ask, you know. Okay, so day number 2, same thing. They still haven't clicked. Day number 3, same thing, right? And so at any point during this 3-day sequence, if they click, we don't send them the rest of the stuff, all right? So if they don't click, then we do something else. If there's a contingency plan, such as, okay, let's promote the next thing. Or let's wait a couple days and send the click sequence to the same thing, but with slightly different copy or from a different angle or whatever, you know. But of course, you need to have a contingency plan here. And if they do click, then we look to see if they do right. So that's a technical term right there. And do right basically means, you know, do whatever it is we want them to do in the campaign, such as register for a webinar. Or if you're sending them to an on-demand class, stay at least 5 minutes. Or if you're sending them to a sales letter, buy the thing, right? And then if they don't do right, then ideally, and you're going to notice that like 1% of your clients actually have this stuff put together properly, thank goodness. If they don't do right, then we put them in a deadline sequence if the quick sequence is sending them to something that's for sale. And if the quick sequence is sending them to something like, hey, go watch this video, and they start it, but they don't do right, they don't, you know, stay 5 minutes, or they don't see the pitch or whatever, right? Then we would put them in a next stage quick sequence. And by the way, that's all that. Hang on. There we go. Oh, yeah, hang on. That next stage style quick sequence, that's all this is, right? So in this case, we're looking here. This would be the quick sequence I just outlined for you. 2 emails a day to the list, 3 days. Let's say on day number 2, they click the link. And so, all right, now we're going to look to see if they do right. Well, first stage here, doing right means attend, right? So if they stay 5 minutes, we consider they attended. So did they do right? If not, then it's a next stage quick sequence, meaning, okay, it's another quick sequence, same framework. It's just telling them to do something else, right? Real simple. Okay, so how do you write this stuff? So looks a little something like this. Okay. So first thing we got to do is get the sucker opened, right? So remember, like when I give you the checklists and stuff, we have the little area where you can write out the stats for people's email sequences if you ever need to. If someone's got like a click sequence in place and, you know, no one's clicking, this is where you're going to look and see if there's something wrong with the subject line or the body copy. But the first thing we got to do in order to get someone to click is get them to open the damn email, right? So I love stuff like this. Frank, please read, and then I like to have the first line of the email, and some CRMs like Infusionsoft, Drip, all that stuff, they have a little thing where you can have like a preview, some preview text. I like to have that where like whatever that is going to augment the power, I guess, of the subject line, right? So I'd say, hey, I'm pretty sure this directly affects you. Now, right now, literally, I could be talking about an article. I could be talking about a sales letter. I could be talking about a video. I could be talking about an on-demand class. I could be talking about a webinar I want them to register for, like whatever, right? I like to have a link. I like to make the words link to the thing I want them to click on a lot in the copy, right? So essentially what I'm doing is subject line, I'll just call it support sentence, opening salvo, get it open and sell the click, basically. Now what I'm doing is, if you can, add an image that gets to click. So you'll notice, and I'll show you in a minute, like some of my more recent stuff, you'll notice I like using a lot of images in emails. It gets clicks pretty good, So in this case, I'm promoting the book here, so it's a copy of the book. It's a picture of it, So now this is relevant here, right? I'm pretty sure this directly affects you. What is the this he's talking about? Well, it's this book, clearly. And by the way, I make the book clickable, right? And so now what I'm going to do is I'm trying to sell the click, right? So I want them to go click on this book. I'm not saying, hey, go buy this book. It's $5.60. It's just like, hey, it's a new book. In this case, it's going to show you how to do cool stuff. And now I like to list cool stuff, right? So in this case, how to yay without boo, what to never do when you want to X or Y or Z or whatever, why everything you've learned about X is wrong and what you should do instead. And notice the way I'm linking here in the copy. The benefit is a link to the thing I want them to click on. The goal, like what to never do when you want to grow giant tomatoes. The words grow giant tomatoes, if this was a tomato gardening article, book, webinar, whatever, grow giant tomatoes would be highlighted, right? Why everything you've ever learned about tomato gardening is dead wrong and what you should do instead, that would be highlighted. So what I'm really trying to do is just get them curious enough to go click. That's all I want them to do, is go click, right? And now I'm going to do the unthinkable, which is to tell them exactly what to do. You can get it here now. In this case, it's the book. You can read it here now. That would be an article. You can listen to it here now. That would be linking to a podcast page. You can watch it here now. That would be linking to a VSL or an on-demand training. You can claim your seat here now. That would be linking to what? A webinar that they would register for, right? So all of this is really formulaic. But if you'll notice, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 links in here already, right? And so that's pretty good. Pretty good. And then I resell the click in the PS. And you know what? There actually is, I think, an attorney named Rick James, which I've always joked around, because I was like, there's only one Rick James on the planet, and Esquire was just funny to me. But I think there really is an attorney named Rick James, so someone remind me to change this. So in the PS, you just want to sign off and resell it. In case you skip to the PS like me, here's the deal. You can get a thing that shows you how to do this here, right? So let's say we wanted them to check out a new, because this is about info right now, right? And so the mind is like, well, what if my client sells irrigation gauges, right? Cool, no worries. Jane, please read. I'm pretty sure this directly affects you. Picture of irrigation gauge. It's a brand new type of irrigation gauge that shows you when the perfect time to water your tomatoes is. Plus, it also shows you, number one, how to have optimal moisture levels in your tomato soil without, I don't know anything about tomato gardening, without overwatering, right? When you should never water your tomatoes, and maybe I would put in parentheses, and when it's perfectly okay just to stay inside and drink sweet tea instead of gardening. And then why everything you've ever learned about what was the thing? Rain gauge. Well, everything you've ever learned about tomato gardening rain patterns is wrong, and what you should do instead. Now we're literally sending them to a product page. Like this would be e-commerce, and this would be a rain gauge. So we'd have to live up to these promises. Like the rain gauge would have to live up to that, and I'm pulling the promises out of my butt because I don't know a damn thing about any of this stuff. But in terms of tomato gardening, but you see what I mean. And instead of saying you can get it here, I say you can see it here now, right? Enjoy, Rick James. In case you skip to the PS like me, here's the deal. Now there's a new rain gauge that allows any gardener to keep their tomatoes perfectly watered anytime during the year, even if they have, what's the opposite of a green thumb? I can't remember, but there's some term. Like, even if they've never been successful at gardening before. All right, and so that's what I would say. Same framework, you see. All right, so let's say, this is sending someone to like get a thing. This is clearly a book example. The example I just read to you would be like hey, go look at this rain gauge type of thing. What if we're telling them to consume some content? Well, in this case, it's a webinar invite email, right? So our first step, we want to get it opened. So finally works, please read works, their name, ! Works. And then in this case, if it's a webinar, I'm holding an advanced class on topic, on date, and you can register here. Now, what if it is an on-demand class or a video sales letter, right? That happens to be educational and there's no need to register. We would say, I've just uploaded an on-demand class about topic, and you can see it here. See it here would be highlighted in parentheses, nothing to sign up for, right? Because they're already on our list. Here's what you'll discover. Same stuff, like just list what they're going to discover, right? And then instead of, like I said, there's no charge, I might say, like I said, there's nothing to sign up for, and you can watch it on demand here. Or if they have to register, I leave it alone. And then I'm listing the benefits again, right? This is for you if you want to, blah, 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 blah. And kind of the same formats, right? You always want to tell them the benefit they're going to get from clicking and what they're going to discover. And the best is always going to be curiosity. Right? And so if this sounds like something you might like, or if this sounds familiar, or if this is what you've been looking for, or if you're interested in this or whatever, then this is a must. Register, watch, read, whatever, here now. Right? And then in the PS, you want to resell the quit. So we're kind of doing the same stuff. Again, it's just about content instead of like going to buy a thing. So what I want you to do is, if you want to, and actually I don't want you to do any of this, unless you just want to do it so you can walk through it with a client or whatever, but I want you to sort of use this little sheet here as your quick sequence framework. So if you were to go back and look at like steps 1, come up with a subject line and come up with the benefits and just sort of jot down stuff that matches every step of the framework. Now, I can tell you now that the most important parts of this entire sequence, so if we go back to, come on, Keynote, don't make me look dumber than normal. Okay, so if we go back to here, all right, notice we got 6 emails, and your client might be like, oh my gosh, dude, I gotta write 6 emails? That's terrible. Well, not really. And the reason I say that is because generally speaking, all I usually change is this, and then I'll sort of rearrange these and leave everything else the same. So I'll just move stuff around, because if they're not clicking it, they're probably not reading it. You know what I mean? So people are like, oh, I got to make every single email needs to be a work of art. And that's just not the case. People get 130 something emails a day. Most of them aren't read. If they do read them, they glance at them while they're, pumping gas or whatever. Like, oh, I need to read that later or something. And then they forget, right? So you can hand this to a client and walk them through these frameworks if you want to. If you want to just jot out some copy, I'd recommend it just to sort of get fluid at it. But it's certainly not necessary. Now, hang on. I want to show you something. Have a look at this. This is a quick sequence to an on-demand class for the Sandor certification that I created back in December. All right, so this is like for round 1 of the class. And what's interesting is I'm sending this to people who had already been invited to various webinars and just hadn't seen the offer yet. So these are like less responsive folks. And here are the stats on it. Okay. This is on demand, so they didn't have to register. I filtered out people who already had phone numbers and stuff. But look, all right, so 9.7%, 12.2% in terms of the open rates, which are surprisingly good, actually, for my list, because my list is kind of old, a lot of them. And then click-through rates are like, okay, and you'll see that it's kind of consistent, 500, 600, then it kind of dips here, then 500, and then 388, and then 298. And this is normal in a click sequence. And why is that? Well, it's normal to have higher click-through rates and higher clicks in your first emails than your last one, because if they click on the first one, they ain't going to get any of these other ones. So you're just emailing less and less responsive people as the thing goes on, all right? And so that's totally normal. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because I want to show you the emails, all right? So hang on. I messed this up, by the way, and ran it at 10:30, I bet. I forgot to even do the contact's time zone, so no wonder it didn't perform as well as I wanted it to, although I'm pretty happy with the results. So look, check it out. Here's the first one. All right. Wait 723 years. Okay. So, extremely important. And I like to use stuff like this when I want someone to click on something. It does need to be extremely important. Okay. So in this case, like, look, I'm basically saying, I got this thing, and I should have made this a link, by the way, but I didn't. And now I'm like sort of selling them on why they should go see it. All right, here's all the cool stuff. And man, now, here's links to what I want you to do. It's called the Sandor model. Go watch this info session. Here's what I'm going to show you during the last 5 minutes. I'm going to show you this. You can watch it on demand here. And here's another call to action, right? So it's here's the thing. Here's the benefits of the thing. Here's what to do, and I'm giving them a million calls to action. Here's more benefits. I'm not listing them as bullet points in this case. I'm just, with commas. Do it however you want, right? It doesn't matter. And then I tell them some more stuff about it, and then here's some more calls to action, and then here's a recap of the whole thing. Very similar to the structure I just showed you, all right? So here's email number 2, okay? Alrighty, wait 365 years. Okay, now, notice that all this copy right here is the same as what I had in email number 1. I've just changed a little bit up in the beginning of the email. PS is the same, by the way. And I've changed the subject line, all right? And so it went from very important to huge opportunity. All right, now let's go to number 3. Number 3, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a little jiggier. I'm going to add some images. Well, I forgot. I guess I didn't add images in this one. All right, well, whatever. Okay, so let's see what the subject line, how to make a fortune by being cheap. All right, and so interestingly, I think this is one that did not have that great of open and click-through rates. We'll see in a minute. Remember, number 3, let's check it out. Okay, and so this is a little bit of content, and now again, look, all of this is the same. All right, so if you look at this content, this is the same as I had in the first 2 emails, right? Like, that's it. So I put a couple extra sentences up here, and I didn't follow the framework, and you know what? I bet this is the one that didn't get the good click-through rates, and then it's all the same copy. All right, now let's look at number 4. You'll notice I got 2 of them a day. Come on, view and edit. Come on. We'll wait 63 years. Fusion Soft's been pretty cool lately. All right, and essentially I'm saying the same thing, right? Forget high ticket, do this instead. I'm just trying to get their attention. All right, now, and by the way, this is like the 20th time I've invited the entire list to watch something to do with Sandor at this stage. All right, so here's a little bit of content. Oops, stop doing that. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, well, whatever. I'm just trying to highlight this. Here's a little bit of content, all right? And then look, literally exact same stuff. So I changed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences, maybe at most. Everything else is the same, right? So change the subject line, change a little bit at the top. Everything else is the same. And I'm basically saying there's a thing, and it's like a way of doing business. And here are the benefits. Or there's this thing, it's called the Sandor model. Here's what I want you to do. Here are the benefits. Here's something else you're going to discover. Here's more benefits. Here's a call to action. Here's a PDF that's kind of summarizing the benefits with more call to action. So it still follows that framework. I just put some copy up there. All right. And let's remember 3 and 4. I want to check these stats on here. And I know the stats for the last ones typically are kind of bad. But look, I'll bet you $1.50 that 5 and 6 are just about the same as number 1 and 2. No, they're not. Okay. In this case, again, I'm just trying to add more content. Oh, that's right. You know why? It's because I've like already done this invite sequence in various iterations multiple times. So I got a couple of sentences, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 new sentences, and then everything else is the same. All right. And then finally, numero 6. I would be disappointed if it wasn't an exact replica of one of them. And no, look, it's all new. How about that? Okay, all new copy. So whole lot of all new copy here up until the actual part that gets the click. And you know what I did in this? I went off the damn framework, didn't I? I tried to get fancy, went off the framework, and look, these ones where I'm getting fancy. Number 3 and 4, I'm curious to see how they did. But these other ones, links buried, right? I should have had a call to action right at the top. I should have followed my dang instructions, but I didn't. So let's go back over here, okay? Let's look for the reports again, and let's see how these suckers did. Let's go back to whenever it was, December 15th or something. And let's see, this is this sequence. And let's wait 2,000 years for these guys to do a good job here and do us right. Well, we can sort of see back here. Yeah, look, number 3, kind of low here. Number 4 did okay, but the best ones were following the framework, weren't they? Number 1 and 2 followed the framework pretty good, and they got the best open rates. Number 3 and 4 didn't follow it. Number 5 got way off the framework, as did number 6. So 3 and 4 were okay, and these ones that didn't do bad, I was way off the framework. So what's the lesson here? Follow the framework, right? Follow the dang framework. I mean, come on. Okay, now, check this out, all right? So if we go back here, okay, let's assume you're doing one of these suckers right here, okay, and the person doesn't click. All right, and so we're going, in this particular case, like you can use a click sequence for anything, right? But let's say it's for an on-demand class and you got a client. And the client's like, yeah, all I have right now is this on-demand class. What do? I send them a click sequence. They didn't click. The next could literally be to wait a couple days and then send them an invite sequence with a slightly different angle, literally inviting them to the same thing, because guess what? They never saw it. They don't know what the original sequence was even about. So here's a classic example of that where I've done it right here. So here's one email, and so this is going to the same on-demand class. Like, look, you'll see I got the same copy as the old one, but I'm starting it out with different headline, right? Here's this drawing, and look, this is a link. Okay, I should have freaking hyperlinked secret system. Like forget my own stuff half the time. And by the way, everybody's like this, which is why we have jobs. Like all the stuff that works, if you're not constantly thinking about it, and if you don't have someone going, hey, remember that thing that like always works? Keep doing that and don't like change the formula. So as evidenced by those stats you just saw, but this one at least has a link to the proper thing. I should have linked secret system. All right, and so if we go and look at this one, and if we go and look at this one right here, again, totally different invite sequence for the exact same webinar. My exorbitant prices exposed, and I didn't enter a preview message because I know that 40K a year is going to be the first thing they see, and all of this kind of stuff. And then here's again the link. The image rather. All right, so this is linkable, and then look. Not the same copy, just like 3 sentences. Okay, so didn't follow it exactly, but in this case, I'm just like going for the click, going for some curiosity. Now, this is going for people who have been invited like a billion times, but they haven't clicked yet. So you can literally create like a cascading series of invite sequences to the exact same training from different copy angles if you want to. Like in this one, I'm testing some stuff here because this is literally like, I've sent this invite. I'm sending this to everyone who's never clicked on anything to do with Sandor, but they're on my list, and I've sent a lot of Sandor stuff out. So like this one, and who knows how well this will do because it's got a lot of copy in it, but it's a whole lot better than doing nothing, right? This one's why I get higher fees, even though I look kind of like a murderer, right? So probably should have had a link up at the top here. Definitely should have had a link. Probably should have had a picture of like my hand or something with a big bird tattoo on it, or God, maybe something horrible like me with no shirt on, which would really probably cause massive unsubscribes there or whatever, just linking to the training. But then same copy, right? Same copy as the other ones. I'm just loading it up with some more content, but I did mess up by not putting the stupid image and something at the very beginning to get them to go click here. But I'm coming at it from a different angle, right? Which is, the main angle of the training in this case is, hey, there's this methodology that gets great results for business owners. It's called Sandor. You should check it out. Well, I already said that in the earlier one that you just looked at, right? And so now I'm just kind of coming at it from slightly different copy angles and, trying to be less boring. Let's see if this one, I think this one, I just wrote this, so I don't have any stats on it yet. This one's more straight to the point. We'll see. Right? I totally screwed this up. Should have said this is all about consulting. Right? But I forgot, and I should have had an image of the video or something on there. Like there's plenty of like curiosity stuff, like graphs and things I could have shown in that video that would have gotten a click, but I forgot to do it. Right? Look at this. Now I've taken the same copy from the originals and put it in the PS now of this one. Right? Pretty interesting. Here's a third one, same asset. I'm driving people to the same on-demand training. Okay, and now I'm reusing this image, and I've just like changed the first 3 sentences. I should have made Secret System a link, by the way. Totally should have done that. And then I got a little story-based copy here, I think. This one's like kind of funny. And we'll see if this gets any action. Oh, no, sorry, wrong one. This one. Now my bet is going to be like the second two work a little better. So here's like the secretary who bought a Rolls-Royce Phantom. So at this stage, I'm like just trying to get them to pay attention. Because again, this is going to people who have yet to click on this damn thing. And I really want them to engage, But if you look down here, you'll see, no, I didn't recycle the copy in this one. I actually got a little creative and wrote real honest to God copy, and probably shouldn't have, right? Probably should have kept it short and said, dude, you got to watch this. It's like if I had this to do over, and this is already going, so I'm not going to rewrite it now, but if I had this to do over, I would say, I'll tell you the story in a minute, but first you need to see this. Right? And then boom. And then all of this kind of stuff here. And then I would have the story about the secretary that bought a Rolls-Royce Phantom down here in the PS. That's what I should have done, but I didn't. But you get the point, right? So when I'm telling you like, hey, we got, where is this sucker right here? Okay. And I'm like, hey man, it's really all just a series of click sequences trying to get someone to do stuff. Next could literally, for your client, just be a different click sequence to the same asset. Like you can change the game for somebody just by having them add more bites at the apple. You get it? Okay, so I think I've kind of beaten click sequences into the ground here, but I'm hopefully demystifying this process for you. There's just a series of emails from different angles trying to get someone to go click the same dang thing.
All right, cool. So ain't that hard? Right? It's just a matter of doing it. But I'm telling you, most people, they'll barely do this and then they go straight to a nurture sequence or something that nobody pays any attention to. So let's say you send out, a click sequence and it does its job and a whole lot of people go and click and they watch your sales video or they read your sales letter or whatever. You know what that does not mean? It does not mean that those people are going to necessarily buy. As a matter of fact, most of them won't. but it does mean that they are interested in the results of whatever the content is that you sent them to. So if you said, hey, I wrote this book for you on, gardening, here, go take a look at it, and they click over to it and they don't buy, it doesn't mean they're not interested in gardening. It means they're normal people, and they're like, oh, I'll buy that later just as soon as I get done keeping up with the Kardashians, because you got to stay on top of what they're doing, So that's where the next email sequence comes in, which is the deadline/countdown sequence. Both same sequence, just like coming up with different names for the same thing. I like to confuse myself even. So what I want to do for you now is walk you through exactly what to say in one of those sequences and how to structure it so you can get, how do you say, mo money. That's what you say, which does not lead to mo problems, by the way. Okay, let's get to work.
So to kind of recap, when you got yourself a quick sequence, that's essentially phase one of the quick sequence plus countdown sequence dealio. And basically, you got yourself some content that makes a special offer at the end, like a VSL or an on-demand class or a webinar. And it doesn't even really have to be educational. I mean, you could just send them to, hey, go buy this thing. And then if they click it, now you want to look and see what happens. So it could be a straight sale, a discount, added bonus, payment plan, whatever, doesn't matter. Essentially though, like we went over last week, a quick sequence is basically your email and your list about something, typically twice a day for 3 days, right? And so we have that quick sequence framework and copy frameworks and all that stuff from last week. So that's phase one, right? Now, again, like we went over last week, if they click the video or whatever, they're no longer in the quick sequence, right? And instead, we move them to the next phase, which is to see if they bought. And if they didn't buy, then we put them in the countdown sequence. Of course, that's what really we're going to spend most of our time on today. And incidentally, if they never click, then we put them into a different click sequence for something else, generally speaking, right? But if they do click, well, we want to see if they bought, because some of them will, you never know. Logic dictates that most of them won't, otherwise your conversion rate would be amazing. And that's why we take the people who clicked, and we put them up in a countdown sequence, right? And so it's obviously related to the offer. And so favorite thing ever is, of course, a good old-fashioned deadline-based email sequence that sends them straight to the pitch. And if you really want to do it right, you use scarcity, and you reference the deadline in your emails and on your web pages. I like to use deadline funnels for mine. It works great. And you could use scarcity around a discount. You could use scarcity around bonuses. You can make the entire offer expire altogether. You can even, if you want to, use scarcity in making the on-demand class itself available. So let's say someone opts in to watch that decision-making system that I just walked you through. You could, if you wanted to, in your own marketing, if they don't get to the part where they see the pitch, they're in a little deadline sequence that says, hey, this thing's going away in the next 4 hours. So if you want this class, you need to go finish it. And you could actually make it go away. So there's all kinds of uses really for a countdown sequence. But generally speaking, it kind of works like this, regardless of the business type, right? So we start out with a quick sequence, and we're sending a couple emails a day, every day, generally 3 days. And then we look to see if they clicked. And if they did, and they didn't buy, then we got them in that countdown sequence, right? And I have 4-day deadline here, but as I'm about to show you, you can really experiment with the layout of this thing. So 4-day deadline is generally a couple of emails a day until the last day, and that's when you send a bunch of emails. So whether it's a 2-day deadline, whatever, the majority of your email is focused on the final day of that deadline. And then we look to see if they bought, and if they didn't click or they didn't buy, then we put them in something else. And usually it's another combination of this, making the same offer at a different angle or a new product or whatever. So let's talk about some timing for this thing. I used to always do it for 4 days, and I pulled 4 days out of the air. Like, remember 4-day cash machine and all of that? Never tested anything other than 4 days. Lately, I'd been doing them for 2 days, typically speaking, and I'll string them together. So I'll have a 2-day countdown sequence, then I'll wait a day, and then I'll have another 2-day countdown sequence where I add an additional bonus, and then I'll wait a day, and then I'll have another 2-day countdown sequence where I'll like offer a payment plan or something like that. That works, but you can really do like however you want to do it, right? The main thing is that you use these things because they're good. So generally speaking, every day except the last day, I like to get 2 emails out before noon. And the reason I like to do it before noon is because Perry Belcher made a post, and he knows what he's talking about, and I believe him, that according to some research, most email is read between the hours of like 8 a.m. and noon. Don't know if he's right, but hell, sounded good, you know, so Perry's a pretty smart fellow. On the last day, generally, I send them 6 emails, and this is assuming that the offer expires at midnight. All right, so it typically looks something like this: 8 a.m., 10 a.m., noon, then I wait forever until 9 p.m., 10 p.m., and then the final notice comes in at 11. So that's a total of 6. It might seem like overkill to you. It would be if this was 10 years ago. In today's day and age, people just don't read email nearly as much as they used to. So they could go, you know, they could miss all of these and only see these or whatever. So we're just trying to get the dang message in front of them here. Generally speaking, by the way, most of the sales come from these guys right here at the end. This is not set in stone, by the way. This is just a classic framework of how to do it and how to get your clients to do it. But there's a lot of ways to experiment with it. And I'll show you a couple of recent experiments that I've done that sort of deviate from this, just to give you the clarity that, hey, you can really use this however you want to, as long as you freaking use it, because it's really, really effective. You know, countdown sequences are great. So what do you say? Well, there is a framework for the actual email copy, all right? And the classic framework, which I stray from constantly because I'm just like our clients, I take what's working and stop doing it until I see stuff like this. I'm like, man, if I followed my own frameworks, I'd really do a lot better, right? So like, as you'll see in the examples I'm about to give you, I didn't follow this framework. It still worked. I recommend this because this works the best. First thing is we have a subject line that's designed to get it opened. All right. Now, as you'll see from the examples of real campaigns I'm going to show you in a minute, usually what happens is the subject lines are like kind of friendly and informative until we get close to the deadline itself. And then we have things like access revoked, deadline, and final notice, right? A lot of times the email copy for me, as you've seen before, is going to be pretty close to the same for every email. The first sentence is I usually like to lead with that scarcity, especially the closer we get to the deadline. So it's usually, hey, your big discount or your access to this thing or whatever. It ends on date and time. And I like to use deadlinefunnel.com. It's either deadline funnel or deadline funnels, plural. For this, it integrates with everything. I do not recommend you do the automation setup for this for your clients. There are plenty of instructions on how to set this up, and your clients have the resource to go ahead and get it done. So that's why I'm not giving you in-depth tutorials on how to technically set this up. I really don't want you to do it. It would, in my opinion, devalue the work that you're doing. You just need to tell them what to do, you know. So anyway, first sentence typically is designed to get the click, you know, and get the dang thing opened as well, because a lot of times this first sentence helps. And then if you can, put an image of whatever the thing is you're trying to get them to buy. In this case, it would be my book. All right. So if we were using this for the book, it would say your big discount on how to get consulting clients fast ends on date and time. Here's what it looks like. And then go ahead and get it here. So here's the CTA to get the click. So notice like really how aggressive in these countdown series I am about getting the click. Whenever possible, add bonuses. Now, some business models, as you'll see later when we get into certain businesses, you know, like, such as attorneys or whatever, using bonuses might not be appropriate, and that's okay. But for the sake of this conversation, let's just assume they are. So if you got bonuses, add them, right? Plus you're getting a surprise bonus. And so now, you know, you make a link. So all these are links to the page. This is designed to get the click as well. And now we want to give the benefits of the bonus, right? In this new surprise bonus, you'll get, learn, discover, whatever. And here are all the benefits. And this could be used for e-com stuff. So, hey, your big discount on the skin cleanser is expiring on Monday. Here's a picture of it. Go here and get it now. Plus, you're also getting this toner. This bonus toner helps you benefit of the toner, right? And so what do toners do? I should remember. Tighten skin, eliminate the appearance of wrinkles. I don't remember, but whatever, right? You get the point. It doesn't have to be information. We could literally use this for just about anything. And then you want to tell them what to do. Again, so notice, get it here now. Get it here now, right? And like I'm putting all of these links here that they can click because I want them to go there and see that timer and see that pitch. All right, and then we've sold the click here, and now we sign off in PS. And I like to recap everything in the copy in the PS. And if you look at my sequences, you'll see that in many cases, in many of the emails, everything is the same, except I might rearrange them a little bit. No difference than I do typically with a quick sequence. I'm going to show you some of them in a minute. All right, so when you're doing this for a client, number one, I don't recommend you write this. I just recommend you prescribe it. And if they don't know how to do it, you give them this example and then you give them this worksheet, which is like, okay, if you put these two side by side, by the way. So if you put this, dang it, side by side with this, all of the numbers correspond with what you want them to do. This is the subject, opening sentence, description, blah, 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 blah. These are the benefits of the bonus. This is your call to action, and this is your PS right here. So you would have them sort of fill this out if they need to, right? But please, I don't want you having to do this for them. So let me give you some examples of recent experimental uses for a countdown sequence that are slightly different than the one I just outlined for you. So typically, it's kind of like, okay, you got 3 days of, hey, go click this thing. And then if they click it and they don't buy it, now they're in a countdown sequence. That's like the classic format, okay? Recently, I decided to see what would happen if I just did it as a one-day campaign. So this is to sell something. I couldn't get Infusionsoft to cooperate with me and show me the dang stats over the past 30 days. But I just built this thing like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'll show you the data here in a minute. But essentially, I have a click sequence, and instead of seeing if they click, I'm looking to see if they opened. I built this in Infusionsoft. Most CRMs can track an email open. And so if they open the email, I take them out of this sequence and I put them in the deadline sequence. And just like the diagram I showed you, if they don't open it, then I put them into another campaign, right? So this is sending them something else. But for the sake of our conversation, let's just look at these two guys, right? So the quick sequence in this case is not 3 days. This whole campaign is 1 day. And the reason I'm showing you this is just to give you an idea of, man, like you can do so much stuff with this combo. It doesn't have to be 3-day quick sequence, 4-day deadline. It could literally be like, a couple hours of clicks and then 4 or 5 hours of deadline, as you'll see. So here's the quick sequence for this one, right? So it starts at 8:30 in the morning their time. I send them one. It's like, hey, go check this out. And I'm telling them what it's about, right? So open this if you want free stuff from me. Waits 2 hours, sends them another one. Waits 3 hours, sends them another one. That's it for the quick sequence, right? So the whole thing is a total of 5 hours, I think, in terms of the time from email 1 to email 3. If they open it, not even if they click it, if they open it, now they're in the deadline sequence. And look, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 deadline emails. And I really probably should have just put more in there. I just kind of built this for the hell of it to see what would happen. This is selling my legacy collection, a free trial to my legacy collection. So let's have a look at this one. All right, and let me have a look and see which sequence I'm showing you right now. Yeah, this is the countdown sequence. Good. Okay, so this is the countdown sequence. This is here. After they've opened it, they're here. Because you already saw what click sequences look like last week, right? So I want to show you what the countdown sequence looks like and show you how I deviated from my own copy formula. In this case, I'm starting out not too aggressive, like, hey, don't miss this. Like, they opened it. I know they're interested because they opened my click sequence, and it was designed where the subject line was like, get free stuff from me today, so it wasn't like a blind, mysterious, clickbaity type subject line. So if they open it, now they're in this thing. And notice like, hey, your free access to my life's work expires today. Get it here, yada, yada, yada. When the timer hits 0, it's gone. Now, of course, being in a hurry, I forgot to install the timer in the emails until the next one. So this is email number 1. And then we wait a couple hours, and then email number 2, finally remember to put the timer in here. Now it says deadline. Right? It's like, ooh, hey, you better get jiggy with it. All right. And now we're getting a little more aggressive in the scarcity. Okay. So, hey, Frank, deadline expires when the timer above hits 0. Get instant access. See what's included and why I'm doing this here. So this is clickable. This is clickable. This is clickable. I cannot believe I let an email go out that says your company. That's unbelievable. I better go fix that. This is clear. Like this actually went out as a campaign. I'm about to show you the results of the campaign, but this is, good Lord. This goes to show, right, that every business, no matter who it is, every business is screwing stuff up. So once you start digging in, you can fix stuff. Okay, so next one, right, I waited a couple hours, and the next one is, hey, your free access to my best-selling trainings will be revoked. Now notice how aggressive I'm getting here, right? So the first one, deadline, this is email number 2, email number 3, access revoked. Okay, your free access will be revoked in roughly 2 hours. Get all this stuff here, and this is clickable. Now you'll notice these timers are not updating. That's because I'm showing you preview emails. If this were in real life, this would now show like 2 hours and something, but I'm just literally taking screenshots from Infusionsoft. And now we get the final notice, right? And you'll say, like, usually my last email is always final notice. So, hey there, Jimmy. This is your final notice to get all the free stuff. Offer expires when the timer below hits 0, right? So this is probably going to be like now at 59 minutes or something. Get your access here. There you go. So you'll notice it's like relatively the same copy. I don't have an image. I should. I even have an image of the Legacy Collection. That's what this is sending people to. I just got a little bit lazy. I don't recommend you let your clients get lazy, by the way, and do dumb stuff like I did, which says your company here. Like, what the hell was that, But I just built this thing a couple weeks ago, ran my list through it, and now, like, no matter what somebody opts in for, they'll eventually go through this sequence. And here's the numbers for it, just from January 19th until the February 2nd here. That's when I'm recording this for you. And have a looky-loo. We had nothing too crazy, but 65 plus 9. All right, let me do them. I got my calculator out here on my phone. 65 plus 9. That 74 people took the trial. Usually about 35% of the people stick and take it. So that's 25.9. I'll just round it down to 25. 25 people paying $99 a month. That's $2,475 a month in recurring revenue that I got. Now, it's counting all of these trials as sales and ClickFunnels. This is how they do it. But what really happens is people on this particular thing, they don't actually pay me any money up front. They get 7 days free access. They enter a credit card number. And then if they don't cancel, then they pay. And you know what? This thing works great. So did I make $1 billion? No, but it's $2,400 a month. So what if you had a client and you had them in an 8-month accelerator program, and they like had the assets to build something like this, and you had them build it, and they did it once, and now they're at $2,400 a month for the next 9 months. Like, that one thing they'd probably be thrilled with, right? So I'm not saying like, hey, go build one of these immediately. What I'm telling you is there are a lot of different ways to use this combination of get somebody to do something, and then when they do it, put them in a countdown sequence. Here's one for cart abandons. Right? And so this works great. Like, if you have somebody that sells anything, they should be having a 2-step order form. Even me, I'm screwing up. Like on my book funnel, I don't have a 2-step order form. I should, right? Because most people who start to order, they don't freaking order. So here's one. This is Infusionsoft. This is what happens if someone starts to take a trial for my simplified growth program, but they don't enroll. So what happens is they fill out the form. It waits 15 minutes to see if they enrolled. And then if they didn't, it sends this little post thing and activates deadline funnel. Then it waits a minute, and deadline funnel says, hey, you should wait a minute before you send email number 1 so all the tech can get straightened out. And you'll notice what a professional I am here in a second. I have email 1, wait 4 hours. Email 2, wait 4 hours. Email 3, wait 105 minutes. Email 4, wait an hour. It says email 6, wait 20 minutes, email 5. I'm just dyslexic. As you'll see, I'll show you the copy for these emails in a minute. But basically what we have is, let's see, 4 is 8 plus, that is about 9.5 hours, 9 hours and 45 minutes, actually, 10 hours and 45 minutes. And now we're at 11 hours and 5 minutes or something. And then the last email. So this is a 12-hour deadline sequence here for them, right? So they started to order. They didn't. This is a 12-hour deadline sequence, aka countdown sequence. I don't know what the hell I was thinking in making it so complicated, but whatever. I'm not going to change it because it's working. And I deliberately, upon making these slides for you, realized how badly I had botched it all up and gotten it backwards. And I'm still not going to mess with it because I want you to realize perfection will kill you. Getting it done gets it done, right? So I'm not changing anything about this. That other one where it says from your company here, I am going to change that one. That's just stupid. Let's have a look at the copy. All right. So here's email numero uno. So this goes out 16 minutes or so after they filled out the step 1 of the order form, but they didn't join. It says breaking news. This is good. Looks like you started to create your account here. Didn't finish. Here's a little something to push you over the edge. When you try it today, give you my unreleased productivity training called The Path. Free. Here you go. It's worth $397, but you can have it for free. Go here and get it. So really kind of following the framework relatively perfectly, except I didn't tell them how good the path was. So of course I left out obvious things like here are the benefits of the path and why you would want it, which is dumb. But, again, case in point, you ain't got to get it perfect. It's like doing it's better than doing it, not doing it and waiting on perfection. All right, so if they don't enroll, I'm going to wait 4 hours. And then it says, I saw that. And hey, looks like you started to create your account at Simplified Growth. Now look at this. This is email 1. This is email 2. Same thing, right? Same copy. I just changed the subject line here and the preview text. All right. And then I think I wait another 4 hours or something no, now I'm waiting an hour and 5 minutes. And it says, hey, get your shit together. And this is me totally deviating from my normal copy framework. But, again, I'm no better than all of our clients. I like to find something that works great and then deviate from it immediately. So here's the way the copy works, right? And so I'm just giving them a little bit of education. I'm hoping this is going to kind of jar them up a little bit here. And then I'm trying to do some educating. Hey, did you know 90% of people who start to order something don't actually complete the order? No kidding. So just by putting one little follow-up sequence in place like this one could potentially double your business, and that's what Simplified Growth is all about. Now, this is relevant to the offer, right? So I wouldn't model this copy unless it's totally relevant to the offer. Simplified Growth is about kind of like a virtual version of Sandor training to a degree, that's self-paced. So that's why I'm putting this in there. Finding that one thing you can do right now to increase revenue. No, let's talk about the subject line of this email. I meant to say now. Let's talk about the subject line of this email, but who needs proofreading when you could just send it anyway, right? No, I'm not implying that you don't have your shit together. It's actually referring to the blatant and shameless bribe I'm giving you now when you complete your account set up for Simplified Growth. All right, and then this is, I think, these 2 sentences taken from the prior copy. I originally wanted to call it How to Get Your Shit Together, but there's already a book by that title. So I called it The Path. Here you go. And now I have the sense to put the dang timer in there more consistently. All right, and so that's that one. Here's the next one, deadline. Now you can tell, that as we get closer, in all of these instances, as we get closer to the deadline, I get more aggressive with the scarcity, right? So deadline, expiring in 2 hours. You need to get this bribe now when you complete your account for setup for Simplified Growth. And then zip, same copy as the last one, right? Literally, I just cut and paste, same copy. There we go. And then kablamo, here we go. Do this in double sales. Also, free stuff goes away in an hour. All right. So one little thing done today, get double your sales. Here's the deal. And then I'm literally pasting the same copy as this one, right from No Kidding. Look at there. See, same copy. All right. And then the final email is final notice. And so I tried to set the tech up where they're going to get this 20 minutes before it expires or something. Hopefully I did that right, but you know, I'm terrible at tech stuff. But it worked. Here's the deal. Like, it works. We got, you know, plenty of members in this thing. It's making a nice residual revenue, and I've promoted it a whopping 2 times to my list now. And now I've automated everything. So everyone who comes into my process gets this. But see the copy, final notice, expiring in minutes. This is your final notice to get this thing. And then look, it's like the exact same copy, right? I'm just cutting and pasting the copy. Could it do better? Yeah, sure, maybe, but it's better to just get stuff done and get a lot of stuff done than try to get every little thing perfect. You know what I mean? So when you're doing this with clients, one thing that could mess you up is going to be a client that's going to obsess over every little thing about the email. Don't let them. Say, all right, cool, man, let's just let it roll and check the stats and see what happens. You know, I didn't get a single bit of blowback about that one email that said, from your company here. Like, nobody said anything about it. And that legacy promo that the email was in worked. You know, so far I've only sent it to my list one time. That particular one is, you know, assuming that 35% stick rate, it'll make me $2,400 a month. And by gosh, that's the lease payment on a G-Wagon right there, because that just so happens to be, I have one of those cars, and that's about what the dang lease payment is on that sucker. So I'll take it. You know, free car, hot damn. And hey, that's over every month for 9 months. So if they stick, well, great googly moogly, that's about 20 G's. I'll take it, you know, for a little one-day campaign. So hopefully you get the point, right? And that is, A, countdown sequences are the backbone of a good marketing process. The backbone of it. And B, it doesn't have to follow the frameworks religiously in order to work, right? So you could, for example, use this in e-com. And the, you know, if they go to check out to buy the skin cleanser and they abandon it, then you're offering them a bribe with the extra toner or free shipping or whatever. If your client's a brick and mortar client, like a barber shop, they could, if they wanted to fill up the barbershop really quickly, it could be like, get 75% off of your haircut, you know, when you book it by Wednesday, and put them in a countdown sequence for that. If you're not even selling anything, but you're trying to get people on the phone, it could be like, hey, our schedule is filling up. We can only guarantee appointments through Wednesday, final notice. You know, like, doesn't really matter, but people respond to deadlines, and you just need to make them real. So, and that's why I recommend tools like Deadline Funnel. Kartra also has a good functionality for this. It's not your job to do the programming, it's your clients. Okay, so that is our conclusion of how to do a countdown sequence and some examples in which countdown sequences are used. If you recall from last week, everything was either a click sequence or a countdown sequence in every single sales process we've looked at right now. So hopefully this is starting to make stuff kind of come together for you. Nice and easy. Cool. Okay, let's get jiggy with it. I'll see you next week.